Making a new ramrod for an old shotgun is an interesting project. Let me show you how we do this. This is a matched pair of Westley Richards percussion shotguns. They were made about 1835 for Prince Albert of England and are in very nice original condition. At some point, one of the ramrods was replaced and it doesn't match the other very well. The original ramrod is tapered. Looks like it's made from ebony and has brass fittings at each end. The larger fitting is shaped to seat the wads when loading the shotgun. The smaller end is made of two pieces. When assembled, these grooves hold a patch and the ramrod can be used to clean the gun. Removing this cap exposes a screw that is used to pull the wads back out of the barrel if the gun would misfire or was to be unloaded rather than fired. It's not a big project to make a new ramrod. It just requires a few materials and a couple of special tools. A stick of ebony and some brass round stock are all the materials required. I've cut a 1/2 inch square full-length peg from the ebony. Then I turn the square peg into a round peg using a dowel maker. It's a simple tool which works just like a big pencil sharpener. A simple square drive socket and an electric drill is used to turn the peg. As the ebony is turned in the tool, a cutting blade set at an angle cuts the edges off the square peg. It comes out the back side round, about 7/16 inch in diameter. So now that I have a round peg, how in the world do I taper it? Not a problem. We build this simple tapering fixture right here in the shop. It's just a couple of 2x2s with coarse sandpaper stapled to them. They're fastened to a baseboard at the correct angle to taper the round peg precisely. With the fixture secured in the vise, I'll chuck the peg in the drill and slowly feed it in. The sandpaper makes quick work of it, tapering the round peg just like the original. Now that I've got a tapered rod, the next step is to build the tips. I'll do the smaller end first. A piece of 3/8 inch brass rod is chucked into the lathe and the threads are cut. The rod is turned to 5/16 inch and the threads are 24 per inch. This is a pretty close match to the original. Once the threads are complete, I'll drill and tap the end for the screw. The original part is about 1 1/4 inches, so I'll part the rod off at that length. The tip is reversed in the chuck and bored out for the ramrod. With another piece of 3/8 inch brass, I'll start to work on the cap. One end is bored out and tapered, again at 5/16 by 24. Then the grooves are cut, closely matching the original. It's parted off and checked to make sure it fits together with the other piece. Looks great. Now I can round over the end and cut the slot for a screwdriver, or as the Brits would call it, a turn screw. I'm using a screw slot file to duplicate the groove. Next is the large end. A piece of brass was turned, which closely duplicates the shape of the original tip. It's been bored through with a 5/16 inch bit. And then a counterbore was cut. This counterbore will hold a tiny lock ring that's just barely visible on the original rod. Now that both tips are completed, I'll install them on the ramrod, smaller end first. The end of the ramrod is marked to the correct length. Then a pocket knife is used to score the ramrod to ensure a clean cut. A small sharp chisel is used to reduce the diameter to fit the tip. It's checked frequently to make sure it's going on straight. Once the tip is fully seated, I'll use some epoxy to make sure it stays tight with a bit of black dye for color. The original ramrod used a small brass pin to permanently secure the tip. To match it, I'll drill a 1/8 inch hole through both the tip and the rod, then slide in a short piece of 1/8 inch brass rod. Both ends are peened over and file flush. Now I can cut the new ramrod to the same length as the original. The larger end is installed in the same fashion. I've turned a small ring of ebony to fill the counterbore. The ring locks the tip onto the ramrod, and combined with epoxy and another pin means this tip will never come off. The ramrod still needs a bit of sanding to remove the marks left by the tapering process before any finish is applied. I'm using a small concave sanding block and some 120 grit paper to sand lengthwise. Masking tape will protect the brass tips. I'll finish with 220 grit paper. The wad puller is made from a number 8 screw. It's simply screwed in place using a bit of green 290 Loctite for a permanent installation. The tips on the new ramrod are a little bright when compared with the original. I've got some old black powder filing. A little of this is wiped on the brass and it tarnishes almost immediately. The last step is to put a coat of finish on the rod. Black shoe polish will color the rod and provide a sheen that very closely matches the original. Now I've got a ramrod that's almost a perfect duplicate of the original. It should be good enough for Prince Albert.